Peace to all my we the people in is the United States, private enterprise free state, and you are now vibing, rocking, generating energy with the best. So my people, the topic today is cremation versus burial. Are y'all ready, my people? Are y'all ready? Here we go. Peace and many blessings. Peace and many blessings. Peace to all my we, the people in the house. So, check it, my people. Check it. Like I said, the topic is cremation versus burial. The iron in your blood came from a dying star. The calcium in your bones filtered through ancient limestone before it ever reached your glass of water. The carbon in your skin was once part of a plant, which pulled it from the air, which got it from the ocean, which got it from another living thing that died a long time ago. Every atom in your body was borrowed. 7 octillion of them, that is a 7 followed by 27 zeros, and not a single one belongs to you. You assemble them over a lifetime, held them together with chemistry and stubbornness, and now the universe wants every last one back. The question is how? How long you make it wait? And the answer depends almost entirely on what someone does with your body after you are gone, after you have been pronounced deceased. Now, what prayers are said, not what is written on the headstone, what physically, chemically, and thermodynamically happens to your remains. The difference between the fastest method and the slowest is not days or weeks. It is centuries, in some cases, half of a millennium. A body sealed in a casket inside a concrete vault can delay the return for 500 years. So my people, 500 years, if you were sealed in a vault after your death, it's crazy. A body composted with wood chips and alfalfa completes the handoff in 30 days. And there is a calculation I want to show. Now, to be very specific, very unsettling calculation involving Julius Caesar that makes the whole question of returning atoms feel profoundly different than you probably expect right now. But before we get there, you need to understand and overstand what actually are you chemically. What are you chemically? Have you ever asked yourself that? What has to happen atom by atom to take you apart and then reassemble you? 70 kg human body is by mass mostly oxygen, about 43 kg of it. Then 16 kg is carbon, 7 kg is hydrogen, almost 2 kg is nitrogen, and a kilogram of calcium concentrated almost entirely in your skeleton, about 780 grams of phosphorus, then similar amounts of potassium, sulfur, sodium, chlorine, magnesium, and trace elements that together weigh less than a bag of sugar. By atom count, the picture shifts. You are roughly 60% hydrogen, 26% oxygen, 11% carbon, and the rest is everything else. You are, in other words, mostly water and air with some charcoal, scaffolding, and a calcium frame. Nothing exotic, nothing rare. Everything in your body exists in enormous quantities in the soil, the ocean, and the atmosphere. So you would want to put your body either back into the soil without a casket or have it dumped into the sea without a casket, or if you're going to cremate, you cremate it into the atmosphere, and then you have to put the cremation bones back into the soil. If you don't put the bones back into the soil and you hold them in the urn, you will find a heavy weight on your life. Shit will be just crazy wild. You know, you're going to feel a weight that you've never felt before. Okay? Because I've seen it within my own family. Now, the universe is not missing these atoms, but it will reclaim them. The second law of thermodynamics guarantees this. The only variable is the timeline. Now, the standard Western burial is, from a physics standpoint, a remarkable act of defiance against that reclamation. Think about it. What it involves: first, you take a body and inject it with embalming fluid, typically formaldehyde based. Formaldehyde is a very powerful fixative. It cross-links proteins and kills bacteria, essentially turning soft tissue into something closer to leather than living flesh. Then you seal that preserved body inside a casket, hardwood or metal lined cushion laced shut. Then you lower that casket into a concrete vault sunk into the earth, and what you have done, whether you intended to or not, is to build a series of nested barriers between your atoms and the rest of the biosphere. The formaldehyde slows the microbial decomposition from months to years or even decades. The sealed casket cuts off oxygen and blocks insect access. No blowflies, no beetles, no lava. The concrete vault prevents groundwater from infiltrating and carrying dissolved molecules away. Under these conditions, soft tissue decomposition takes 10 to 50 years. That's a long time when you seal it in a casket, as opposed to just dropping the body into the dirt or into the ocean. Depending on soil moisture and temperature and how effective the seal remains, skeletal remains, the calcium phosphate matrix that gives bone its rigidity, can persist for 50 to 100 years. Its rigidity or more. A complete return of all your atoms to active biological circulation, That can take 300, 400, 500 years in dry, stable soil in a casket. So you will take a long time if you choose to reincarnate back onto this earth. Think about it, my people, what that means. 5 centuries of your calcium sitting in a concrete box underground, cycling nowhere. So you're trapped. They have trapped your soul, yada, 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 underground in a casket. Now somebody has to come to dig your ass up and help you escape. Now, so 5 centuries of your carbon locked in embalmed tissue, while outside above the biosphere is churning. Plants pulling carbon from the air, animals eating those plants, organisms dying, and feeding new organisms in an endless loop that your atoms are locked out of because your body was buried in a casket, in a vault. The universe has been running this cycle for 13.8 billion years without interruption. Sound like some vampirism to me, my people. Now, and you have asked it to pause for 500 years or more. Now, here is what happens if you skip all of that, if you let your body do what it has been quietly preparing to do for your entire life, a natural burial. No embalming, no casket, no vault, just a body wrapped in cloth and placed directly in the soil, follows a very different timeline, and it follows it because you have removed the barriers. And let biology do what biology has been doing for hundreds and hundreds and millions and billions and trillions of years before humans decided to intervene. Within hours, the bacteria already living inside you begin the work. You carry roughly 38 trillion bacterial cells in your body while you are alive, in your gut, on your skin, in your mouth. They outnumber your own human cells. And the moment your immune system stops functioning, your shift from symbiosis to consumption, the embryonic bacteria in your intestines, the same organisms that helped you digest dinner last night, begin breaking down your tissues from the inside. They produce methane, hydrogen, sulfide, carbon dioxide. This is the bloat stage. It is not pleasant to think about it, but it is extraordinarily efficient chemistry. Your body is a closed system being opened from within. Within weeks, once the expanding gases have been broken, the skin and oxygen reaches deeper tissue. Your aerobic bacteria take over. Your filaria arrive. Blowflies can detect a body within minutes of death in warm weather. In forensic science, the progression of insect species colonizing a body is so predictable that etymologists use it as a biological clock, and what they have documented is remarkable in its efficiency. The active decay, the phase where The Arabidopteria and the insect larva consume remaining soft tissue proceeds over weeks to months. The body becomes a temporary ecosystem, a concentrated burst of nutrients feeding hundreds of species of bacteria, insects, and fungi in temperate climates. Skeletonization occurs within 6 months to 2 years. Your carbon returns to the atmosphere and the soil within 1 to 5 years instead of 50 years. So a natural body dropped in cloth into the dirt takes 1 to 5 years for you to come back and reincarnate, instead of 50 years being a ceremonial inside of a casket. Now, your nitrogen enters the soil, my people. Nitrogen is a cycle within months, taken up by plant roots, converted by nitrifying bacteria, cycling exactly as the second law predicts. A naturally buried body returns most of its atoms to active circulation within a single decade. So already you can see the scale of the difference. Traditional burial, centuries; natural burial, years. But neither of these is the fastest method. Modern cremation occurs at temperatures between 760 and 1150 Celsius. To put it like that, in that perspective, my people, iron melts at 1538 Celsius. Wood ignites around 300. Your body at these temperatures does not slowly decompose. It bursts carbon bonds with oxygen to form CO2 and exits through the exhaust stack, not over months, not over weeks, within minutes. The carbon atoms that yesterday were part of your brain, part of the proteins that encoded your memories and your personality, are atmospheric carbon dioxide by lunchtime. Hydrogen leaves as water vapor. The same hydrogen that was water in your cells that morning becomes water vapor in the atmosphere that afternoon, free to condense into a cloud, fall as rain, be absorbed by plant, become part of a fruit eaten by a stranger in another country. Nitrogen exits as N2 and nitrogen oxides, rejoining the atmospheric nitrogen pool. That makes up 78% of every breath anyone takes. The combustion is through, through that, what remains? The powder people call ashes contains virtually no carbon, no hydrogen, no nitrogen at all. What is left is almost entirely calcium. Phosphate from your bones along with trace minerals. The calcium and phosphorus that spent decades forming the rigid lattice of your skeleton, ground by a machine called a cremulator into the fine gray powder that gets placed in an urn. Everything that made you organic, everything that made you alive in a chemical sense, is already gone, already cycling. Cremation returns roughly 95% of your atoms to active circulation within 2 to 3 hours. Your carbon enters the atmosphere the same afternoon. Your hydrogen joins the water cycle before the sun sets. The 5% that remain is the calcium and phosphorus sitting in the urn on someone's mantle. Persists indefinitely in mineral form unless someone scatters it. If they scatter it into soil, those minerals become available to plant roots within months to 2 to 3 hours versus 500 years. That is the range. And remember that the calculation about Caesar, one mention, we are almost there. But first, my people, you need to understand the two never methods because they change the math in ways that matter alkaline. So, my people, it's best that if you're going to cremate, you must immediately after cremation get that urn and scatter it into the soil and say your prayers and release your loved ones straight up. Because if you don't and you have that mantle or that urn on your mantle in the house or locked away in a closet somewhere, you are going to feel a very heavy, heavy weight that you're not going to understand it. The only people that understand it are people that understand the spirit realm. And that's who you're talking to now. So the hydrolysis, sometimes called water, cremation, or accremation, places the body in a pressured stainless steel vessel without a potassium hydride solution. Heated to roughly 150 Celsius over 3 to 4 hours. The alkaline solution breaks down protein, fats, and DNA into a sterile liquid containing amino acids, sugars, salts, and soap. Yes, soap. We are actually soap, my people. So the spongification of a body fat, the same chemical reaction that has been used to make soap for thousands of years, is one of the primary processes occurring. So the soap inside of the stores, are they actually using the ashes from dead bodies to create soap that we wash up with? Something to think about, my people. Of the primary processes occurring inside that vessel, your body fat literally becomes soap. Bones remain intact and are processed into powder, just as in cremation. But the difference that matters is this is fire cremation. Your carbon exists as atmospheric CO2, a greenhouse gas that contributes to warming in alkaline hydrolysis. Your carbon exits as dissolved organic molecules in liquid form. That liquid, sterile, nutrient-rich family coffee colored can be discharged into municipal water, wastewater treatment systems, or used directly as fertilizer. Your atoms return to the biosphere not through the atmosphere, but through the water cycle. Same speed, different path, roughly 17th the energy consumption of traditional cremation. No combustion, bioproducts, no mercury, vapor released from dental fillings, no porcelain, no dioxides. Then there is human composting. And this is the one that surprised all of us. Washington State legalized it in 2019, with several states following since a company called Recompost developed the commercial process founded by a woman named Katrina Spade, who had been thinking about this problem for years. The body is placed in a vessel, essentially a large insulated container shaped like a hexagonal cradle with wood, chips, alfalfa, and straw thermophilic bacteria, heat-loving microbes that thrive at elevated temperatures, colonize the mixture, and raise it to between 55 to 70 Celsius. That is hot enough to pasteurize, hot enough to break down pathogens, and hot enough to decompose all organic material, including bone. Over 30 days, everything is converted. Not most of it, everything. The result is approximately 1 cubic yard of nutrient rich soil, enough to fill a pickup truck bed. All of your carbon, nitrite, phosphorus, calcium, and trace elements transformed into biological active soil in 1 month. That soil can grow plants immediately. Your atoms enter living organism directly. No atmospheric phase, no mineral residue sitting in an urn on a shelf for decades. Every atom backed in the game within 30 days. So that is why, if you have your own land, that is why we as American Indians, we put our deceased loved ones back into the land that we planted on. Our deceased loved ones, our family members, were recycled in the food that we ate from the land that carried on the legacy of our generation after generation after generation. But my people, that has been taken from you if you were buried in a vault. Now, you can go and visit some of your loved ones at the cemetery and ask the people that own the cemetery to take you to the plot. Ask them to dig up the casket. They're going to deny it. They're going to tell you no. One, because the casket does not contain a body in it, because they already sold your loved one's body on the black market for body parts. Because they sold everybody a dream of a vault and a casket to bury your loved one in, so that you believe they were being dumped into the grave, which is a lie. They used the casket to preserve the body so they could later go back after the funeral and dig the body up and sell it for body parts on the black market. That's the bottom line. I don't care if you phase off the channel. It don't matter to me, because you need to know the fucking truth. So basically, your people have been sold off as body parts. And then you wonder why your family legacy is fucked up. Because all the body parts of your loved ones have been scattered, chopped up, sold off to the highest bidder on the market. Now, within 30 days From a pure physics standpoint, human composting archives the fastest and most complete return of all your atoms to the living biosphere. Cremation is faster for 95% that combusts, but it leaves the 5% behind. You need 100% of your body, your soul, your spirit as one to come back without any flaws. So you may wonder in your families why you have flaws within the mental thinking and everything. It's due to what I just said. Cremation is faster for the 95% that combusts, but it leaves that 5% behind. What you have in the urn after you cremate is 5%. You have to take the 5%, put it back in the soil so that the body can regroup itself and find its body parts. What was the story in Set? Set was cut up and his body was cut up, whatever. So there you go, my people. As mineral powder, 5% is left behind as mineral powder. Composting gets everything, every last atom regenerated into living soil. Within a single month, if this were just a question of speed, a simple ranking of methods from slowest to fastest, we could stop here. Traditional burial with vault up to 500 years, natural burial a decade, cremation 2 to 3 hours for 95% of you, but your bones sit in an urn indefinitely. Alkaline hydrolysis, the same speed through water instead of air at a fraction of the energy. Human composting 30 days, everything, no remainder, no exceptions, but this is not just a question of speed. There is something deeper going on, and there was no man who understood all of it. The cycling, the statistics, the absolute, the mathematical certainty that your atoms will scatter more deeply than anyone who ever lived. The universe has taken us apart too. Okay? So basically, my people, that was it. I could go on with it, but I'm not. You can do your own research. It's out there. So the bottom line is, my people, you either gonna keep cremating, or you gonna do a natural burial, wrap them in a cloth, drop them on the land if you have houses, your own land. Stop going to the funeral homes. Bury your people on your own property. If you have property, bury them on your own soil. Straight up. This has been another public announcement from the United States Private Enterprise Free State. So, 407-300-5377. Big up to all my people in the chat. Big up to all my people in the private chat. Stay up, stay one, stay strong, and we are out.